If you want to play football at the NFL level, you have to learn to run your routes full speed and slam on the brakes at the end. Don't prepare to slow down, just slam on the brakes. Here's some quick facts. Jerry Rice, probably the best receiver to ever play, only ran a 4.6. That's all the speed you need. Anything faster is going to be icing on the cake. Why is it so many seniors in high school run a 4.440, but by the time they're seniors in college, they run a 4.6? The problem is, to play wide receiver, everybody thinks you have to be a burner, and that's simply not true. Being a speedy receiver would be great, but my point is, you don't necessarily need that to be a great receiver. So stop worrying about being a sprinter and learn how to run fast in pads. Learn how to run fast during the game. Here's a list of Hall of Fame receivers. Most of those guys were known as receivers that didn't have a lot of speed. There's probably 3, maybe 4 guys that could run a 4.4. The rest of them all ran 4.5, 4.6, 4.7. One of the major things they did was they always ran their routes full speed. Most receivers let off the gas after 5, 6, 7 yards and adjust their speed so they can make a break. The really great ones never did that. Here's a freshman level receiver at the college level. Supposedly he does run a 4.4. He gets by the DB, but then about 9 or 10 yards, he takes his foot off the gas, allows the DB to catch up, and then make a play on the ball. This next receiver lets off on the gas at about 5 or 6 yards. It's very subtle, but that's all it takes for the DB to be able to cover you. Most receivers run routes like this. They'll get to a point where they start to gather so they can break down. You'll see this next receiver does an outstanding job on the route. This is exactly what I'm talking about. Takes a speed release, puts his head down and looks like he's accelerating upfield, and he is, and then slams on the brakes. The DB is in full stride, and he leaves him behind. Now we're going to watch some practice tape of receivers that you'll see them take their foot off the gas and give away their route before they make their break. This receiver starts to lean and slow down right there. This next receiver is really trying to keep his foot on the gas, but you'll see him slow down just a little bit at the top of his route so he can gather to make a good break. Great acceleration here. Now he starts to stand up right about there and then breaks down. That is a pretty good route, but you saw he took his foot off the gas. Good acceleration. Now he's not accelerating. He's running, but he's not accelerating. And then he gathers to make his break. Now that's subtle, but that's all a good defender needs. He's accelerating right there. Now he stands up a little bit. That's all it takes for a good defensive back. If you're going to make this a post dig, you got to accelerate on the post. That's acceleration right there. Now he's slowing down, makes his break, slowing down to gather his feet. Makes a good little break, but he's slowed down. A good defensive back or a good safety is just going to sit on that route. Look at the receiver at the top of the screen. You can see he lets off on the gas a little bit, although he does make a good break at the top of his route. But he gathered right before he went and broke down. You cannot do that. Right there he's gathering. Good break, but you cannot gather before you make a break. Now we'll look at the bottom of the screen. This looks like a really nice route and a good catch. But you'll see that he let off on the gas after about his 3rd or 4th step. It's got a little bit of a false step, which we don't like. Good acceleration, has his head down. He's going to push the defense back. Now he stands up just a tad. Now he's going to really gather himself. But he makes a nice little cut, snaps his head around. Good speed cut. Reaches out and makes a good grab. Look at the bottom of the screen for this next play. He's not even running very hard, and the DB almost jumps the route. Now I'm going to show you some 49er cut-ups from the 1980s. The picture quality is not great, but I want you to see them accelerate for 10 yards. This is the correct way to run routes. It's going to be harder to make your break and get in and out of the breaks. It's not going to be as pretty, but you'll see this is the way to run routes. This is the only way you're going to threaten a DB. These receivers are going full speed. They are rockets coming off the ball. And that's the way to run routes. At the NFL, I really don't see a lot of breakdown cuts where they get to the top of the route, come to a complete stop, and come back. They use speed cuts. That's a speed cut. We'll see Jerry Rice using a speed cut. Slam on the brakes. It's a little sloppier, but he got the DB to turn. Full speed, slam on the brakes. That's a comeback using a speed cut. It's a little harder to do, and there's a technique so you don't lose your footing, which we teach. But this is the way to run routes, guys. They're using speed cuts. They're running full speed. And anyone can learn how to do this if someone teaches you how to do this. And here's our last clip in the video. This is Jerry Rice. You'll see him accelerating 5 yards, 10 yards. He's got to be running a streak. 15, then slams on the brakes, leaves the defender running on the streak route. To finish up, training receivers is probably the easiest job I have right now. I can fix a lot of problems in a short period of time, and I can turn an average receiver into the best receiver on his football team. There are so many subtle techniques that only the NFL guys know about, and our method of defeating the bump and run coverage will allow the receiver to run all the routes on the passing tree instead of having to convert them all to a fade.